with the OG bloodline getting back together, I've heard a lot of people talk about, this is like the best version of the bloodline. It's cool with the three family members, but Sami Zayn is like the most important member to getting people to care. And that's what I wanted to ask this week. Who is the most important member of the bloodline story? Of course, you got Roman Reigns, who is the leader of the OG group, always in the fire of the issues and interpersonal battles. He's the top draw of WWE. Or is it Jey Uso, who's like the breakout star of the group, like we've been talking about, and how popular he's become? And he's been like at the center of most of the emotional and memorable moments. You got Jimmy Uso, who is the first person, like we said earlier, to always turn, having betrayed every other member of the group. And he's Roman's real right-hand man, despite Jey getting that title before him. And then you got Sami Zayn, who's like the most popular member who has been in the group. Like his run as the honorary Uso, I don't think anyone was as popular as him in that OG bloodline. And he's the catalyst for that most iconic era of the bloodline from 2022 through 2023. So, I'll start with you, Josh, since you're the hardest to please. Who would you say is the most important member, and how would you rank them in importance?
Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns. He's the most important member. Like you said it. He's the top guy. He's the top draw, right? He was the champion when he was with the bloodline for over 1,300 days. He's the most important member. There's nothing, right? It's like if you take out LeBron James from the Lakers. Are the Lakers as good without LeBron James? No. That's how I see it.
That's true. Can't say you're wrong. Can't say you're wrong there. What about you, man?
And as in ranking, I would say Roman first, Jey second, Sami third, Jimmy fourth.
Okay. So you said Jey second?
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. That's interesting. Krssi, what about you? Who would you say is the most important, and how would you rank them?
So what he put Jimmy, he put Roman 1.
Roman 1, Jey 2, Sami 3, and then Jimmy 4.
Oh yeah, Jimmy's definitely number 4. Like Jimmy is like
I think that's the like who is the least important member of the bloodline. I think that there would be no debate or question about that.
I have to agree and say Roman is definitely like the key component to have this whole group together. There's no bloodline without Roman, I feel like. Then you put Jey, because when we were in pandemic, it was just those two. I think they forget about how he became main event Jey, like how he got pushed out. And this stardom all happened is during the pandemic when we was looking at screens. And then we had no crowds. So you have to put Roman first. Jey is definitely number 2. Honorary Uso of Sami is number 3 for sure. I can even say that they can probably like tie that number 2 spot, to be honest.
That's fair.
I think matter of fact, I think Jimmy and Sami could definitely go neck and neck as far as their roles for this group. And then I would put Jey at dead last. Like we're skipping 3 and going to 4.
That's fair. All right. I think nah. I don't think Roman's the most important member. I really don't. Like even me, Roman loving SP3, I can't say that because I feel like the bloodline was on a downturn at the beginning of 2022. Like the Brock Lesnar storyline with Roman, with Paul Heyman in the middle, that was kind of like the driving force of the bloodline angle. The Usos were already tag team champions, but what were they doing at WrestleMania? They were facing Shinsuke Nakamura and Boogs. Like they weren't hot stuff at that point. Like really the turning point of the bloodline, and really a big catalyst to the bloodline becoming this iconic figure that we're talking about. We did a podcast last year. Is the bloodline the greatest WWE storyline of all time? I don't think it gets to that level without Sami Zayn coming into play after WrestleMania 38 in 2022. Like he drove a lot of the emotional beats, and he was kind of like, it was kind of like putting a peg in this round hole. It didn't fit with the bloodline, and that created a lot of the different dissension and interpersonal kind of battles that Roman had to deal with Jey and Jimmy. It was first Sami turning on the bloodline that was the catalyst for that. The ending of the Royal Rumble, the honorary Uso promo, like the Usi promo. There's like iconic moments that he created being in that bloodline. So if I'm not saying he's the most important member for the WWE, but to the bloodline storyline, I think Sami is most important than anybody else, because it would just be just the family, and it would just be Roman. Roman would be viewed as a big like political player who's only trying to put over his own family if it wasn't for Sami Zayn being a part of this group and benefiting from it. I think that Sami is number one, and then I would go Roman number two, Jey number three, Jimmy number four.
I can see that. I get it.
To our question of the day of who is the most important member of the bloodline, you got Cyclops is better than Wolverine, who says Roman. None of this happens without him. I do understand Josh's argument of Roman Reigns, because Roman is kind of like the figurehead. He's the figurehead of all of this. All of this wouldn't be coming to fruition without him in 2020. But like I said,
it's also different. It's different.
It was
a different
downslide before Sami came. So,
but it's also like a different kind of aspect, right? It's like when I'm talking about it, I'm talking about it as in like a more grand scheme of things, right? You're talking about it more story based, because it was like, hey, there was a down period. There was kind of like that stagnant period with the bloodline that it needed something, and Sami Zayn was that thing to like elevate it. Now we could even like give credit to The Rock, but at the same time, that's a little bit different, because The Rock was only basically used for like the whole WrestleMania push. So that was kind of a different kind of thing. With Sami Zayn, he hit more angles and more stuff without that. Like they didn't need the whole thing to build up to like a mania for that. And then even the aspect of like the whole Elimination Chamber match, where people actually thought, oh my God, Sami Zayn has a chance to win the titles. I mean, even to this day, I still think a lot of people are stupid. They actually thought that.
They really thought that was really happening.
No, but it meant something to people, right? And like that's what's more important, right? Like if you had people believing, then I guess you did your job. But if you really thought he was losing, if you thought Roman was losing before Mania, man, you easily fooled.
Very fooled.
Hey, they fooled me. They made me believe.
You damn sure switched your pick too. You damn sure had it. It was like,
I stand on business. I'm not gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie to kick it. I don't need to lie.
Well, my condolences to that, because man.
Well, it didn't happen, but I still believe. They still got me. So I gotta give them credit for that, and that's why I think Sami is number one. Sami is the most important member. Like he brings that emotion that not always there, or sometimes can feel like pantomiming, and like we're in a high school theater class with some of the bloodline when they get too emotional.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean, because we have all those fucking marks that say cinema, and it's like, guys, it's not that serious. It was just a good angle, like that's what it was. But I do agree, like Sami he has that he kind of elevates it with like humor and comedy, and sometimes it's like off script kind of stuff that actually makes it better. Because I know like on Raw, from what I know, like that was off script, like not off script, but like they didn't really use the script. They just used like whatever, I guess, like what was in their minds, and they ran with it.
Yeah. It was just Jey listening to the crowd. The crowd kept chanting Sami Uso, so he was like, all I see is family. All I see is Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, and Sami Uso, which got the big pop at the end of the segment.
Yep.
What do you think about an argument for Jey Uso, though, as the most important bloodline member? Since, like you talked about earlier, Krssi Love, his popularity has kind of like soared, and you would consider him like the big breakout star, the guy that, of course, they kind of wrote the storyline in a way that helped Sami to be the first one to like break off, and at the honorary Hoos, he had like the spotlight on him, but Jey probably wasn't. It wasn't planned for him to be this popular. So
it really wasn't.
Very, very important to the bloodline and what it's accomplished.
Well, I mean, it just shows like he just had to step up, because his brother was a knucklehead. He got injured, and then he had other issues that he had to take care of. So someone had to step up and be there and be the face of the twins. And it just so happened that, you know, everyone seen something that was there, and it just made him very popular and just gravitates to all of the audience. Like he's a big baby face. Like once that whole bloodline thing turned over, he became like a huge, that yeet foolishness became just like unstoppable. You know how I feel about
it has. It's like, well, I know. It's and I know that took a lot of you to even give him that compliment. But we got Call Me Mr. Vonda, who says there is no bloodline without Roman's heel turn in 2020. This is true. This is a
Paul
good,
Heyman.
interesting
Yeah.
argument. Because Paul Heyman has really kind of been like a narrator at times of this whole bloodline saga from the very beginning.
He can't come back yet.
He needs to come back for War Game.
He needs to, like,
he could stay home for a little bit longer. He could stay home for a little bit longer.
Why are you hating on Paulie?
No, I'm not hating. I'm just saying he could stay a bit longer. They really don't need him right now. I think War Games is a good spot.
We got Power Driver Finisher, who says most important member Roman 1, Sami 2, because it doesn't come to life without him. There we go. That is true. Okay. That's a good argument. Fair. Mr. Bonda says order Roman, Heyman, Jimmy, Jey, Jimmy, Sami. How you have Sami last? Really?
Damn, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
He put Jimmy before Sami. That even I know better.
Yes. Everyone knows Jimmy's like the
Jimmy's like Tito.
Yeah, you know what?
That's wrong. That's wrong. You're wrong for that. You're wrong for that.
Yeah. That one right there, bro.
Oh man, only a few people our age will understand that reference.
That is a fact.
But I mean, yeah, and there's also kind of the argument, like you said, for Paul Heyman being like the narrator and the glue of all of this. But then you brought up, Josh, The Rock. The Rock. How important is The Rock in this? Where would The Rock fit in if he's also included? And also Solo, because Solo is kind of a driving force of this kind of like
that's true.
Late chapters, because he comes in 2022. They kind of groom him under Roman Reigns for 2 years, and now he's the top heel. Probably it's him or Gunther for the top heel in the entire company right now.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that is a fact.
I think Solo I would put behind Jey in my ranking. I would put Solo behind Jey. The Rock. The Rock.
I think The Rock it's a different kind of. It's kind of weird with The Rock because I think he's kind of like in a different kind of like, you could say like section of it, just because like with The Rock, right? When The Rock came back, he made that shit like not even more important, but because of like the segments he had, like they were like must watch TV. So I think his is just is a unique situation because like we all know once he comes back, he's gonna elevate that storyline because again, we still don't know what The Rock is gonna do because he showed up at Bad Blood and then he looked in the ring and then he just like left. He did the motion, but nobody doesn't know what's that towards. And then he cut that little vague promo that showed up on social media where he was like, what I saw out there was a bunch of bullshit. But again, we don't know what he's going about. So it's one of those things where when he comes back, he's gonna make it obviously more interesting again because it is The Rock. And you know, like of course his segments are gonna be the most viewed segments like on social media, on TV. So he brings it to a different kind of like situation where it's like because it's The Rock, it's gonna be more focused on it, but it's also gonna be great. So it's not like, oh yeah, he's just gonna show up and then, oh fuck, this segment suck ass. You know what I mean? Like it's a different kind of situation with The Rock. That's why it's a little weird. I'm like, if you're trying to rank it, it's like a little weird because I'm like, I think he's on the section on his own because of that.
That is a good point. I think that The Rock is more important to the Cody finishing his storyline more than the Bloodline storyline.
I would say that because Roman was so secondary in that shit. Like when the whole thing happened, regardless of what people want to say about Roman, he was like, there was like really, I want to say no focus on him, but he did feel super secondary. Like it kind of felt like it was at times a Rock versus Cody more than the Roman versus Cody.
100%, especially after the beating his ass in Chicago in the ring.
Yeah.
So especially after that.
Never forget that. Never forget that. But yeah, keep coming in the comment section. We want to hear what you think, what you think in the live chat, as well as in the comment section. Who do you think is the most important member of the Bloodline? We got Josh and Krssi think it's Roman Reigns. I think it's Sami Zayn, but what do you guys think? We got a couple of people who say Paul Heyman. Some people say Jey is the protagonist of the group, says Aubrey James. He says it started with him getting beat down by Roman Reigns. And he was basically a tag team wrestler. Like, that's all his legacy would have been. This breakout really starts from the very beginning of Roman's run as the tribal chief and head of the table.
That's true.
We also got here Chuck Berries. He says, until The Rock faces Roman, I don't think that he should be included in this argument yet. That's fair. That's fair.